Welcome back to Beyond the Bible. Today we're going to take a look at a group of important ancient biblical tools called codices. Codices is the plural of the word codex, much like indices is the plural of index and appendices is the plural of appendix, and so on and so forth. But what's a codex, you ask? Well, a codex is an ancient manuscript bound in a book form. It became a different medium for recording writings, rather than using scrolls or clay tablets, for example. The word codex originally comes from the Latin word of the same name, meaning block of wood. In later usage, this word denoted a block split into multiple tablets or pages for writing on, thereby making, essentially, a book. Codices usually were made up of pages of parchment, which come from animal skins, or papyrus, rather than paper like we use today. In the centuries just prior to the codex, the scroll was the most popular medium for recording writings. By 300 AD, the codex and the scroll were utilized with approximately the same frequency, and within just a few hundred years of that, the scroll became obsolete. This was because of all the benefits that codices had. They could lie flat, not needing to be unfurled. It became much easier and quicker to find passages with the flip of a page. A person could write on the front and the back of each page, unlike a scroll. Plus, having a hard cover often protected codices from the elements a little better. Make no mistake, these codices were not run-of-the-mill objects. They were precious, treasured works. One large codex could be composed of hundreds of animal skins, which were quite expensive. Also, they had to be completely handwritten, which was very time-consuming. And they had to be properly bound, with the pages being stitched together. One of these could cost the lifetime wages of a normal person at that time. Now, while there were codices for all sorts of written works, a prominent use was to copy the text of the Bible. While there are many codices containing portions of the Bible from the ancient world, there are four that stand out, often referred to as the four great uncial codices. Now, uncial is a fancy word that means a script or lettering style using entirely capital letters. The uncial script was very prominent between the 4th and 8th centuries AD in both Greek and Latin works. It reminds me a lot of some of the scripts that are used in The Lord of the Rings, if you've ever seen that before. So there are four uncial codices that contain, or originally contained, the vast majority of the Bible, written in Greek. And all of them were written on a form of animal skins called vellum. I want to start with the least significant of the four, the Ringo Starr of the group, if you will, called Codex Ephraemi Rescriptus. This codex, written in the mid-5th century AD, contains nearly the entire Greek New Testament, minus 2 Thessalonians and 2 John. It also has 6 Old Testament books attested, and if it had any others, they were either lost or destroyed. The thing that makes Ephraemi Rescriptus interesting is that its words were hiding in the form of something called a palimpsest. A palimpsest is an original writing that is later scraped away to make room for a later writing due to the high cost of parchment. However, sometimes portions of the old scraped away text are still detectable, or a faint trace is left behind. The cool thing is that today we can use multispectral imaging, such as ultraviolet light, to make the original text pop to where it can be clearly read. So in case you thought National Treasure was crazy for putting a secret map in invisible ink on the back of the Declaration of Independence, that's basically what has happened with discovering some of these ancient writings that have writing on top of them. Pretty neat. Now let's talk about the other 3 great uncial codices. The first one, discovered in modern times, is Codex Alexandrinus, originally written in the 5th century AD. This codex is massive, containing almost the whole Old Testament and New Testament, some works of the Apocrypha, and a couple Christian works written in the immediate aftermath of the New Testament era that are called First Clement and Second Clement. This document surfaced or resurfaced in 1621 when it was brought to the city of Constantinople. It is believed that it was originally from Alexandria, Egypt, though not everyone is sure about this. Well, just a couple decades after surfacing in Constantinople, Alexandrinus was brought to Britain and remains in the British Library to this day. Being the first expansive biblical codex discovered in modern times, this was a huge find at the time. When talking about the three primary great uncial codices, Alexandrinus can be recognized by its two-columned pages. That distinguishes it from the others. The second of the big three to be widely known to the masses is Codex Vaticanus, dating from the 4th century AD. This codex has been located in the Vatican Library since at least the 15th century. Various scholars were able to examine it between the 1600s and the 1800s until it became widely available after all the pages were photographed and published in 1889 and 1890. Vaticanus contains all the Old Testament books and most of the Old Testament Apocrypha. It's missing just a few New Testament books, however, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Revelation. Vaticanus was a significant discovery for its New Testament text, particularly the Gospels, because it displayed a slightly different textual tradition from the Latin text, which up to that point had been the basis for many Bible translations. The textual tradition in Vaticanus has since lined up with numerous ancient Greek manuscripts that have since been discovered. Some actually view this codex as the most important New Testament witness surviving today. You can distinguish it among the big three by its three-columned pages. If you desire, you can actually look at the various pages of Codex Vaticanus on the Vatican's digital library, found at the web address below. Last, but certainly not least, there's Codex Sinaiticus. Written right around the same time as Vaticanus, this codex was discovered in 1844 in St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai by a man named Constantine von Tischendorf. Until its discovery, Vaticanus was unrivaled in its age and reliability as an early New Testament witness. Sinaiticus, however, proved to be much its equal in many ways. This codex contains half of the Old Testament, the rest was lost or damaged, the Apocrypha, the entire New Testament, and a couple of works that did not make it into the New Testament canon, called the Shepherd of Hermas and the Epistle of Barnabas. Sinaiticus is the earliest written manuscript that we have which contains the entire New Testament canon. There is a bit of a debacle as to whether or not this codex was obtained legitimately by Tischendorf or was stolen from the monastery. No one really knows. And today, portions of it reside in 4 places: the British Library in London, the University of Leipzig, the Russian National Library in St. Petersburg, and at St. Catherine's Monastery on the Sinai Peninsula. Sinaiticus can be recognized by its 4-columned pages, and images of this codex can also be accessed online at the web address below. Maybe you've never heard of codices before now, but they are extremely important in the biblical landscape. The rise of the codex as a medium for written works helped Christianity to spread in the first few hundred years after Jesus. There were more copies of the Bible with much easier access, particularly since many biblical codices were written in Greek, which many people at that time could read all over the world. In modern times, biblical codices, in particular Alexandrinus, Vaticanus, and Sinaiticus, have helped greatly with biblical translation and text criticism. These are really old Greek manuscripts of the Old Testament translation, and the New Testament. As with other manuscripts that we've examined before, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, the older a manuscript is, generally, the more reliable it is. And that's not to say that these are perfect or without some copying errors, but they sure are helpful and useful. These codices have lent an even higher degree of legitimacy to the biblical text, to those who would doubt the words of the Bible or declare it to be a modern hoax. Finally, the Codex was the precursor to what we have now: books. It's amazing that the Bible is so widely available today, both in print and online, and in hundreds of languages. And these codices that we've been talking about were an extremely important stepping stone leading to where we are today. But for now, that's our look beyond the Bible. See you next time.